Welcome back.
Yeah.
Welcome back, everyone. So, this is your first on my screen now. What did you guys talk about? How has this program changed you?
So for me, it was a big change because now I think differently. You know, in the past, I used to take I call selfish because you know, I used to think like I can do better than anyone else. I can do faster than anyone else. You know, I can do all the things and I don't need any help. You know what I mean? And now that's why one of the most important things for me is to delegate. And that way I have more time to do more important tasks, you know, and that's what I take it. You know, that's a big change for me. And I'm very happy to keep this, you know, I am very happy to stay in Vista for the next year.
Great. Thank you. Brian.
Oh, it was me, Andres, and Ashley together, but we were really talking. I was saying for me, I've become definitely after the PQ thing, calmer. I've also developed more confidence, but it's also a big one for me is listening. Not only have I started listening a little more, obviously more to coworkers, peers, and other people that I'm training, but more it's the behind the listening, sort of what's the meaning behind everything and how does that impact the way that I work with them and work with them, but understand their mentality. Sort of more going back to that development we were talking earlier, developing the quiz to how everyone sort of relates to how they listen, how they like to get feedback in there. And I've noticed that's helped a lot more. So that was it. And then sort of just self-check and personalities. Yeah, that was everything.
Thank you. Michelle.
So my biggest thing was I've become more self-aware. And particularly in the way that I communicate and how I communicate. And, you know, as previously mentioned, the clarification. And then I just really want to make sure I review my notes and recordings because I tend to, you know, the rest of today I might be thinking about it and be invested, but then tomorrow I get wrapped up in my day-to-day stuff. And there's so much, especially this meeting, everybody's takeaways brought a lot of reminders back to me. And I'm like, I need to go back and review that. I need to go back and read that book or maybe take one of those assessments again to see how it may have changed over the last year.
Yeah, great. So I recorded, I think, every single session and sent them to you, and it's in my Vistage. You know, a lot of times when I'm exercising, I just listen to the video. I don't see it, but, you know, it's easy to go for a walk and listen to it. Kind of like Ashley did, listening to the book when she was on maternity leave. So Ashley, how have you changed?
Yeah, so I mean, Michelle took the words right out of my mouth. The first thing I said when we got into our triad just now is that I'm more self-aware, doing introspection after each of the lessons and the speakers, and you know, thinking about the concepts of different ways and how I can kind of internalize them. And I think it's really gotten me just generally more interested and in being a team player as a leader. So not being a leader and standing up and telling people what to do, as Andreas said as well. It's really getting other people involved, understanding, you know, how they learn and receive feedback and want to be, you know, part of the team, and taking all of that into account, and just being more open and aware of how to be a team player as a leader.
Great. Thank you, Ashley. Erica.
I was with Eva and Kevin, and I think we all kind of following in suit to both of them. It was awareness. You know, you look at everything we've learned and everything we've really pulled from, and all of it leads back to like being self-aware personally and professionally, right? The things that you carry over into your personal life also affect your professional life. So just really being fully self-aware, And I'll let them, everyone individually speak to like what they plan to do next. But my, continuation would be to continue to stay curious and ask those questions, and also be more direct. So those are my biggest, practices, and obviously continuing on this self-awareness journey.
Thank you. Jacob.
So my personal one was how I changed was to not sweep things under the rug and hope things get better, but to have more confrontational, to have more direct and open conversations, and also as well the tools to lead to more productive type of solutions. And I felt that our conversations and our group has only gotten stronger because of that. What I plan to do next is to go back to some of the authors and listen again to the presentations, and then also as well take a deeper dive into some of their other writings, for example, meaning other publications that they may publish.
Thank you, Jacob. Eva.
Yeah, so with what Erica said, and I think a big theme of it again is self-awareness, and for me it's also compassion, because again, as I said earlier, I think that Vistage is all about the people, and you can't really implement all the other things that we learned in Vistage until you get the people part right. So the way that you approach people, their personalities, the way that you are with them. So I want to, going forward, lead with compassion, because I feel like it's made a huge impact on me when I approach people in the way that I want to be treated.
Beautiful. Thank you. Alicia.
I mean, I think the biggest thing that has changed is that I used to be a lot more like have this mindset where, I had to be the support person and also do like everything on my own. And I think that it's changed to a more teamwork mentality, and not just as a leader, but also as like, helping other people figure it out and not be on so I think that just having more trust in my direct reports and giving them the opportunity to show me what they can do, and I actually did get some feedback from one of my direct reports saying that they really appreciate that I'm not on them for like how to do something, but like I give them the base knowledge and the resources, and then they kind of figure things out, and sometimes they actually have surprised me with what they've come back with. So I think for me personally, that's how I've changed over the last couple of years, is just having a better relationship with my direct reports and helping them grow and figure things out, rather than me kind of baby them like I used to. So, but I think that, they feel more empowered. So, and then going forward, I would say, is to work on my own weaknesses, maybe revisit some of those, like the working genius or like the saboteurs. And I think, maybe put it on my calendar to revisit that every single year, because I think over time things change, and maybe things that were an issue before are no longer an issue. So going forward, I think I probably would want to reevaluate myself on those things, and just see the progress, or maybe if there's anything new that pops up that may be a saboteur for me. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we have all 9 saboteurs. There are certain ones that we prefer, and those can change as we get practice in dealing with it. I guess one big lesson that I've learned this past year was my stickler saboteur was the #1, and then I learned that I have the pleaser saboteur, which I didn't even know that I had, but I'm in a triad, and that's what my triad told me, was that I have a pleaser saboteur, and my wife told me that. So I thought, I need to start taking a look at that. And in the retreat that we had with your CEOs last couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago maybe, we had to come up with one big thing that we're going to work on to be more effective as a leader, which I'm going to invite everyone to do in our next session, is we're going to take some of the learning from that professor. And what I saw was the relationship between pleasing an ineffectiveness as a leader that a lot of times I'm afraid to say something, or I hold back from saying something because I don't want to upset the other person. When we did the workshop on emotional intelligence with Heather Anderson, my empathy was my highest emotional intelligence. And so I'm like empathizing that if I said something, it might upset them. So I hold back. And so the test that I'm doing is I'm testing whether or not I can make people uncomfortable and that they're not going to leave. They might get upset, but they're not going to leave, because the fear under that, because of my upbringing and my childhood, is if I upset somebody, they're going to leave. So that's what I'm going to have you all working on next year is what is the one big thing that you could work on, and we're going to work together on deliberately practicing you doing that one big thing. So I'm practicing being uncomfortable, including being more vulnerable and sharing what my big thing is. So thank you, Alicia. John Paul. And welcome, Abby. We saw your video. It was awesome.
Oh, I hate that I missed it.
Yeah, we were waiting.
That was definitely unplanned.
I understand. So people are sharing how they've changed in the past year and what their plan is to do next, what they're going to do next on their leadership journey.
Oh, cool.
John Paul. John Paul.
Oh, I'm sorry. So I was in the group with Jess and Kim, and we discussed about how we all have this knowledge now that from Vistage, and to go back and rely on that information and apply it. So one thing for me was that I've learned is to be more understanding, and learn that not everyone learns or understands the same way as you do yourself or myself, and to be understanding and be able to step back and help them out as much as possible. And one way I will keep improving is to just go back on these videos and knowledge that we've gained throughout the whole year, and to use that. So yep, that's it.
Right. Thank you, John Paul. Kimberly.
Yeah, so as John Paul said, as we discussed having all these tools, going back and reading the books, it's one thing that when you're in these sessions, you're engaged and you're thinking about it. It's front of your mind. But when the everyday gets going, you forget about all of these tools that you have and all of the speakers that you heard. So one of the things that I've changed in the past year, being that my Colby is that I'm a quick start, I tried to slow down, actively listening to people, take that in, give myself time to digest it before responding. And what I'll do to stay on my leadership journey is continue to use the tools that we have, go back, rewatch the videos, dedicate myself to rereading the books, because at the time that you're given all that information, it may not be applicable at that time, but as you continue on your path, some things might make more sense and be more useful to you in the future.
Thank you. Kevin.
Yeah, in the triad breakout, awareness seemed to be the theme, self-awareness, being focused on that and being self-aware, for me, especially with how different people react differently to your actions. I think a major way in changing over the past year too is coaching versus managing. Really, not just delegating and telling people what to do, but also giving them the tools to make sure that they can be successful in what you ask of them. I think in terms of next, going forward on the leadership journey, I'm not sure if we will be moving forward here, but either way, always looking for ways to build on the tools that I have, looking for other best practices, keeping, not just an open mind and open ears, but also like seeking it out. And then also taking what I have learned and trying to impart it onto my team to kind of, spread the value among the team and individuals to give them, similar tools.
One of the best ways to keep on learning is when you teach it, because then you have to restudy to kind of like really put it out there. So great strategy. Jess.
Yeah, I was with JP and Kim, and as you heard from them, we talked a lot about how we should plan to revisit the stuff that we've gone through, whether it's rewatching, rereading, looking at our notes. Because of the day-to-day, we get lost in it, but also, like Kim said, sometimes it's more applicable at a later date when you're going through something specific and you're like, oh, this could be a way to like help me resolve the situation that's going on right now. And then for me, Andre and Alicia both touched upon this, but about, taking a real teamwork approach to leadership and allowing that time for collaboration and not feeling like you have to resolve everything or everything's on your shoulders, taking it a little less personally and really focusing on that group effort to bring things forward.
Great. Thank you, Jess. Abby, how about you? How has this program changed you in the past year?
I've taken a lot from it. I've been working on, like you said, not holding back and having those hard conversations sooner, because when you don't, it's not fair to you or them for that matter. And I didn't think about it, but rewatching these videos is a really good idea. That way, like you said, some things it may not be something you're going to need now, but later you can refer back to it.
Sure. Thank you. So as I plan the program for next year, there are a couple of changes that I'm planning to make, but I'd love to hear your feedback on anything that you think that I could do to improve this program to make it even better for the future. This is, I think, the 4th year that I've done this program. And I've certainly learned as we switched from, because it started in person to Zoom during COVID, to coming up with, speakers that I think are ones that you could relate to and ones that would be useful to you. But what else could we do? What can I do to improve this program?
I'll jump in, Mark. We actually had this conversation on our last triad meeting. And although it is great over Zoom that, first of all, during COVID times, we were able to continue this. I think some aspect of in-person, maybe like to kick off the program, one in-person meeting somewhere, or after you've had a few sessions, getting people together, because really our triad, we were able to form like a close personal connection and build that trust. And because I think just of our personalities, it was okay for us to do it that way, but not everybody is like that. And so, really building a deeper connection and that trust, and having those connections outside of the meetings that you host, to kind of keep us going in between, and really, digging deeper into the lessons and the speakers and things like that. That was extremely helpful. And I don't know if everyone got that same opportunity without having maybe, once a year kind of in-person aspect, or some sort of, team building, just to get to know the peers, especially if it's a smaller group. I think that's more feasible to do that. So that would be my feedback.
No, I would love to do that. Now, do you think that you would come from the West Coast? Don't you live on the West Coast?
I do. Couldn't we pick a central location? Meet in the middle. Let's meet in Vegas. How about that?
I don't think Vegas is quite in the middle.
Well, close enough.
Okay, thank you. Who else? I love the idea. I think it would be a great idea if your bosses would support an in-person meeting once.
Kind of like an emerging leaders retreat or something, where you just build that trust, or kind of, then you can get to know people and form your, like Ashley said, like we got very lucky. I mean, both years I've been very lucky, like with my triad, and, being able to really, get to that level. And, you know, we've even planned a couple of meetups, and stuff like that. So I just think there's some, value to being able to get to know people like in person to form that so that it can continue outside.
Love that idea. Thank you.
I think the other feedback, what else did we talk about? I think the one other thing we talked about was, and I don't know if this works for everyone or not, because it doesn't necessarily fall fully in summer, but I think we had June, July, and August off.
It's July and August.
Okay, just July and August. So I was thinking maybe like August, September. For some reason, like September coming back into it was just a struggle. I don't know if that was me personally, but there was just so much going on. I traveled every single week in September. I think everyone was coming back from a lot of stuff. So coming back in September was just a little tougher, but I don't know what other people's thoughts
What's
are.
your suggestion? To not have a July and August off?
Or maybe like July and September off. I mean, I liked the back-to-backness of it. Like, I do think the summer break was needed, especially people with kids who are out of school. I mean,
Right.
that resonates with me too. A lot of people take vacations or they take time. You look at July and there's like a holiday incorporated in there right around like Vistage time. So, I think there's like something to, you know, to be said about like that period. I just, for some reason, you know, coming back in September, like I just was not prepared. And maybe that's something, you know, I could personally work on. I just know we all kind of felt the same, like September just hit us out of nowhere. And it was just a lot going on to come back.
Got it. Thank you. Who else? This is your opportunity.
I don't know if anyone else has this type of dynamic with their company, but like my CEO is also in Vistage, and I have another employee who's also in Vistage and in like a different program. And for me, it would be really helpful to make sure that the agendas or like the speakers are kind of aligned, because you know, I've noticed that sometimes I will try to implement some of the tools and, you know, management tools that we have in Vistage, but it really kind of falls short from a firm level, because if like the CEO isn't doing the same thing, or like, you know, the other employees are like kind of doing their own management. Like, I know they recently had this deliberately developmental, you know, retreat, and you know, my boss is coming up, you know, sharing with the whole team, and we're all kind of like, what is he talking about? Like, you know, it's kind of like, it's a lot easier when you have multiple leaders who can kind of support my CEO and like kind of explain how it works, rather than him doing his solo thing. I'm doing my solo thing. You know, so that would be my suggestion. I don't know if the agendas are aligned, or maybe they're just at different times, but for me, I thought that would be helpful for us to be able to implement most of these, you know, tools.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I always talked about it again, that's my first year, but a few of the past people in my company have mentioned that they had mentors that they still talk to. And I know that's something we didn't explore this year, but maybe something to bring back. They seem to say they got a lot out of talking to mentors and still have relationships with them and go to them for questions and career advice. And that might be one to bring back if you can for the next year, and one that I think was a positive, at least from everyone I talked to on our side. So
thank you.
I think that's a great suggestion, because recently I had a conversation with a friend of mine who, you know, she's in her 40s. She's been working at the same company for 20 years, and she's very dynamic, but she's like, you know, I feel like I lack a mentor. And then I'm part of another group that it's a non-charity group, and they just started doing an ambassador program. So the ambassador is the person that kind of takes the new people through what this nonprofit company is about, which I think is interesting, because whenever you're into something new, you really don't know how to integrate yourself in it. So I think that's a great idea.
Thanks, Eva. Anyone else? You know, one of the things that I'm looking at, and I'll share my screen here, is the software called the journaling software. And this would be a way that I could stay more in touch with each of you. So if you had individual breakdowns, it allows us to connect between the calls. It's a software that you would, you know, I could type in prompts every single month, like your assignments, and you could respond. But if you wanted to have some issue that came up, you could just type that in and I would get it. It's all in one spot, organized by person. It's not as crazy as email, and it's private. So it wouldn't be, you know, like My Vistage, where you can post stuff there, but nobody actually ever used My Vistage that I can recall. It was built by coaches for coaches to help me stay in the loop with what you're doing, especially during the summer. I felt like I was out of touch with you for a while. So it's something that I would buy, but that looked interesting to me. What do you guys think of something like that? Would that be helpful if you had a way of staying in touch throughout the year? I'm including 2 Zoom sessions next year, but that way I could kind of check in on how that one big thing that you're working on is going, and ask you questions and hear feedback from you on situations that you may be arising, and I'd be able to write a response to you. See head shake, Jacob?
I would say yes, and I was just about to jump into the previous comment as well. I mean, maybe it's me personally, or but I didn't feel the triads really worked for me this year. So perhaps if there be more communication, or more, I don't want to say the deadlines for action type of scenario, but where you have an ongoing reminder, this is due, or let's meet, or did you check in, etc. I think that would be more helpful to keep, especially as we are diversified. I mean, the strength could also, weakness could be strength, strength could be weakness. We're all diversified, which, okay, now we get our different opinions, but we're different time zones or different activities, etc. And it could be hard to mesh us, especially at the beginning. So I think more check-ins would be helpful.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? Do you think we should change up the triads more often? Because I've heard either people love their triads, or they didn't work out so well, or they broke up and never got resolved. So I've heard several different stories on triads.
As someone who loved both of my, I really love my triad. Like I'm gonna miss Erica the most. No offense to everybody, and Ashley, but Erica I've been with for like 2 years. But one of the things that we used to do at work, the first time I worked with Greg, we used to play like musical chairs in the office. So like every other month we would change around our seats, and I really got to know people on a different level, and you also learn different things, and you get the best parts of everybody. So I don't think it's a terrible idea. It would have been for me, but I do think it's a nice idea.
I think especially if we're not able to do any in person, doing like a different triad for the first 3 meetings maybe would just help you kind of build trust with multiple people. So that way, when I see all your faces on the screen by meeting number 4, I'm comfortable with everybody, and I'm open, and I'm sharing, deeper, more personal things, or whatever the case may be, maybe for like the first 3 meetings or something, to really help everybody just kind of build that trust with each other.
Thanks. Any other thoughts? Any other feedback? So I'm going to end early today, but I wanted to share something with you before we went off the air here. Some of you know that I received the COPE Award last year, and they had a big party for me in July. I'm in a triad with 2 other Vistage chairs that are my 2, best chair friends. And one of the things that one of my friends is a poet. And so what he suggested I do for my speech is that I write a poem, which I'm like you, Erica. I don't feel like I'm very creative and I can write very well, but there's a specific format. I don't know if you've ever heard of the I am from type poems. You can Google I am from and you'll see examples of it. This would also be a great way if you wanted to get to know your people, is to have them write an I am from poem. So I'm going to read you my I am from poem. Let's see if I can make this so I can fit it in the screen and still see you guys. Here. So I am from Detroit, automobiles, soul music, and rats bigger than cats. I'm from my father, a Jew from Brooklyn, and my mother, a German Lutheran who later in life became a Catholic nun. I'm from Morris, Fanny, and Abraham, my ancestors on my father's side, many who died in the Holocaust. I'm from Gustav Adolf on my mom's side, with secrets and undiscussables. I'm from a mom who, after I was born on the couch, made breakfast for the doctor and my father, bacon and eggs. I'm from a family that was so poor that the doctor accepted one of my father's paintings in barter for his services. I'm from a home with a father leaving us when I was 6 and me put in charge of my 2 little brothers while my mom worked 2 jobs so we could survive. She told me I was the man of the house now. I'm from a 1-bedroom duplex in Detroit where my mom slept on the sofa and the 3 of us kids had the bedroom. I'm from PB&J sandwiches on Wonder Bread, Spam hash, macaroni and cheese, and hot dogs. I'm from the Lynch's family before I was adopted in the 6th grade and moved downriver to Taylor, Tucky. I'm from Weight Watcher parents who lost 80 pounds each and became lecturers for Weight Watchers. I'm from a head of lettuce with candles for my birthday cake. I'm from summer camps, summer vacation Baptist Bible school, Boy Scouts, and playing outdoors. And an alcoholic stepfather who ridiculed and hit me just because. I'm from McDonald's, where I got away from home and earned my own way since I was 16. I'm from the JFK High School debate team, winning the state championship and earning a full college scholarship, and then losing it because I flunked algebra my first semester. I'm from dropping out of college to start my first business selling fire alarms, and then failing 6 months after. I'm from losing everything and then having my house burned down and losing the rest. I'm from a divorce that separated me from my 2-year-old son, Jonathan. I'm from giving up and becoming homeless, feeling sorry for myself, and drinking my problems away. I'm from meeting my father for the first time in 20 years and learning my history. I'm from deciding not to do the same to my son as my father did to me. So I got my shit together, got my job back, moved into a tent, showered in a public bathroom, and put on a suit and tie and went to work. I'm from learning how not to be a victim by taking one personal development course after another, a forum, seminars, and the ontological design course. And I'm from meeting in that course the woman of my dreams, Farah, who transformed my life by evolving me from a provincial salesperson who didn't even have a passport to a life I never even dreamed possible. and from the challenges and ultimately the joy of two more children, Melissa and Danny. And from starting my second business and joining Vistage in 1995, learning to become a CEO and growing to become the 58th fastest growing company in the state. I'm from selling that business, moving, and I'm now from New York City for almost 20 years. I'm from 35 years of marriage to my best friend and partner in life. I'm from two grandchildren, Matthew and Eloisa, who bring me joy, unconditional love, and while playing with them, the opportunity of being in the moment. I'm from Vistage Chairing for 14 years, the best Vistage group that ever was or ever will be. I'm from my passion to positively impact the world by raising the level of leadership, effectiveness, so that my grandchildren can have a better world. That's where I'm from. Where will you be from?
That was so nice, Mark. That was great.
That was beautiful.
Thanks
Thank
for
you for
sharing. That was
sharing.
great.
Thank you. Did I stop sharing that? Or I wasn't sharing. Okay. So it really has been a joy to be with all of you this past year. I hope to see many of you again in November. If you haven't and you're interested, talk to your bosses. I've talked to some of them. I know some of you have received commitments from your bosses to be with us another year. Some of you I haven't heard back from, so please let me know. And wherever you are, remember, leadership is a journey. You're never finished. It is about progress, not perfection. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
you,
you,
Mark.
everybody.
Bye, Mark. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Mark. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.